And you would not believe the number of times through the years, specifically with men at the house, that she had to forgive them. Men who disappointed her, went back to drugs, back to drinking, betrayed, her trust in them, etc. So forgiveness was a 24/7, kind of, need, many times for her.
I did see with Father Roy, Craig in jail, and Craig, while we were at the holding center, did offer numerous times. He did say he was sorry, and I did offer forgiveness. She certainly forgave. I also need to forgive.
Karen Klimczak was a sister of St. Joseph who devoted her life to prison ministry in Buffalo, New York, offering troubled men a second chance to become productive members of society. She was murdered on Good Friday, April 14, 2006, by an ex-offender she had reached out to. Born Teresa Klimczak, she took the name Karen in dedication to her niece, who passed away at the age of 2. Family played a large role in who Sister Karen was and what she became. John and Jen Klimczak raised 12 children, 2 of which, Karen and Jean, entered the convent as Third-Order Franciscans. Karen followed her family's example of worship and outreach.
Sundays was always dedicated to worship of God and family gatherings. No work was done on Sunday. And after we would go to Mass, my dad would do barbecue chicken on Sundays, and whoever came, we just celebrated together. So every Sunday, it was Celebrate Sunday. And very much in Bissonnette, Karen continued, like the meals on the holidays were 1 o'clock. Everybody was invited. So there was always the invitational thing. So that really we got our faith really came from the example of our parents.
Brother and sister weren't titles Sister Karen reserved for family. She looked at everyone as a sibling, embracing all, particularly those in need. Sister Karen spent 13 years as an elementary school teacher at Mount St. Joseph Academy in the city of Buffalo. Though she loved working in education, she always searched for more. Taking advantage of having her summers free, she visited youth camps in Atlanta, Georgia, dressed as a clown. She worked with women prisoners in New York City and always looked for creative ways to spread her message. During time spent in the New York City area, she received a message of her own, calling her to prison ministry.
I know that when I had come back from an experience in New York City, I thought that I wanted to live in a home with ex-offenders, and that's when I discovered that it didn't exist here. And that's why we wanted to do something for them.
So in 1985, Hope, Home Offering Positive Experiences, opened its doors in a vacant 24-room convent on Sycamore Street in Buffalo, New York. It was at Hope House where Sister Karen began to provide male ex-offenders with a place to live upon their release from prison. Only nonviolent ex-offenders are eligible for Hope House, and no use of drugs or alcohol is allowed while a person resides there. Though prison ministry quickly became her passion, she was also teaching full-time. It wasn't until 1991 she was able to stop teaching and devote herself to Hope House.
Even when we first started the original Hope House at a different location, and I even said to her, well, now, we don't have the money in place, we don't have a lot of things in order for this. Well, don't you trust God? I mean, it'll work out, don't worry. And she would just go full steam ahead, and it worked out.
At first, she didn't want to tell my dad that she was living with guys, and so that revelation didn't come until a little bit later on, because there certainly was the concern, because there would be the vulnerability. Karen was aware of that, we were all aware of that, but even with my dad said, "You're doing what?" But then he really respected that decision, and it was also in her relaying that God had called her to this.
After some time at Hope House, the 24-room convent proved to be too big for Sister Karen. She was now on a quest to find a smaller, more intimate residence. Though people knew the importance of the ministry, the reality of a halfway house for ex-convicts in their neighborhood hampered a swift resolution to this situation.
She just got all these refusals. Oh, not here, not those people. And it's interesting because when she went and talked to Father Joe's sister, his sister got up at church one day when Karen was there to talk to the congregation of St. Bartholomew's to ask if they would be open to this possibility. And his sister spoke up and said, I, for one, think this is what my brother would have wanted. And so with her encouragement, with the people's approval and the pastor at the time, that's why then that was accepted. When no other place would accept this ministry, the only place that would is a place where their previous pastor had been murdered.
Father Joseph Bissonnette was pastor at St. Bartholomew's Roman Catholic Church. He was an advocate for peace and justice in a neighborhood and a world fraught with violence. On the night of February 24th, 1987, 2 young men came to the door of the rectory at 335 Grider Street. The men spoke of being hungry and without a place to stay. Father Joe invited them into his home and prepared them something to eat. The sandwiches went untouched, while Father Joe was bound, beaten, and stabbed. Sister Karen moved her ministry to Grider Street in 1988. The room in which Father Joe Bissonnette met his fate is now the prayer room at the Bissonnette House.
Father Joe Bissonnette was the person who, at one time before we moved in, lived at this place, in this particular room. This is a place where he was murdered. And actually, it is definitely holy ground, because the place where Father Joe lost his life is where the men of our house come together, Christian, Muslims, Jews, Native Americans, and they pray together. Many miracles have happened through the intercession of Father Joe. Father Joe's picture is shown here on the wall. It was painted by an 18-year-old artist, and it depicts Father Joe doing the various corporal works of mercy. That Hope House continues on in his name. We visit the sick. We have men here who have who are HIV positive. Some of them have died, and I have visited them men at their deathbed as they were in the hospital, which is located across the street. When our men come to us, they don't have anything very often, just what they are wearing, so that we provide clothing for them. We celebrate many meals together. It's a standard policy. 1 o'clock is our meal time. So when holiday time comes, we usually have 9 men at the house, but at holiday time sometimes we have 24, 25. And it's a neat way of just getting together and celebrating again. We go to the prisons and visit the men. Very often when we go to visit, it's the first visit they've had in years, sometimes 8, 9 years when they haven't had a single visit. So Hope is a very special place. It's a place where, through the intercession of Father Joe Bissonnette, I am learning what it means to live the gospel as my men teach me this, as we live in community.
The gospel wasn't something she read or listened to on Sunday at Mass, but they challenged her to live it. You know, how forgiving will you be? How loving will you be? And so these men challenged her